So I'm finally getting to some requests that you guys have put on the videos where I've said, hey, give me ideas for future videos, and then I didn't get to those ideas because I already had ideas that I knew I needed to cover. But I'm finally getting to those, so if you had something that you put in like a comment under a video that you wanted me to cover, I'm finally covering it. If I miss any, I'm sorry. Please put them in the comments and I'll try to get to them in a second part of this. And if you have any more ideas of things you need help with, please let me know in the comments and I'll get to that. But for right now, roll intro. So I really think the only thing that I need to cover is high scream and more about fry scream. Some housekeeping things that I've mentioned in other videos that I need to go a bit more in depth on. So let's start with high screams in general. In the video that I talked about low screams and gutturals, one of the things that I really talked about was having a small mouth shape. That even with this, my mouth shape is still relatively small. So we kind of apply the opposite logic when it comes to high screams. When we want to do a low scream, when we want to do a high scream, yeah. You'll also notice that I choose a much more annoying note, for lack of a better term, much more like a yeah. Much more of a squeaky and nasally note. That's because, especially for fry screams, adding a bit of nasality will actually help you get that high. Resonance is really what you want to focus on when it comes to high screams. So if you want to make your scream higher, you can place some of the resonance more in the nasal cavities, and that'll help you to get a higher scream. Again, resonance does not exactly equal airflow. I can place resonance in my nose and have no air coming out of my nose. Like there's no air really coming out of my nose, but I'm placing a lot of resonance up in my nasal cavity. I'm sorry that was probably really annoying to listen to. Overall, with high screams, that's something that you want to think about, is where are you placing your resonance? You want to place your resonance higher. The other thing, and I briefly mentioned this, but with shaping wide shape, focus on the overtones for this. Listen to your own overtones and move in and out of the shape. I really need to figure out how to get my lighting to be better, because it's kind of awful. Overall, with high screams, the thing you want to think about is placing your resonance in your nasal cavities, especially for fry screams, and then just having a wide shape like this, like a really exaggerated smile. Now, the other thing that can really help is just choosing an overall higher starting note. I've covered this many times in the past, but let me say it again. Your scream is not supposed to be, nor will it be, strictly distortion. It is distortion with a note. The note is how you project your scream. And let me just show you something. Sorry for the dust on the screen. This is OBS. This is what I have this thing set at. By the way, this is how far I am from the mic relatively. This is what the mic is going at as I'm talking. As I do distortion. And then as I do a fry scream. It's about the same loudness as when I'm talking normally like this. Now I talk loudly. Whole point of that was to prove that if you have the proper amount of projection and you understand that proper projection means having a note and not pushing distortion, it'll be, with the fry scream, just about as loud as talking loudly. So if you start with an overall higher note, versus if I start with a lower note, it's hard to get it higher. So change the underlying phonation. Same thing with false chord. I didn't warm up for false chord screams for doing this video, so I'm not going to give any examples of false chord. You want to get higher false chord screams? Start with a higher note, then add on that false chord distortion, and you'll see a really big change. We got high screams done. Now we need to talk a bit more about fry scream. I talked more about this in the how to scream kind of video, where fry screams are loose vocal fold closure. And so if you want to know more about fry screams and overall what fry screams are doing, I recommend you go there. If we're talking about how you do fry screams, there's a couple methods you can use. If you're really good at controlling your vocal folds and you're able to separate them and use them at will, what you can do is you can slip into a vocal undertone. All I'm doing there is I'm letting my vocal folds separate just a bit. You'll notice as I keep going, I slip more into vocal fry. Now, your fry scream isn't a vocal fry, but vocal fry is loosely related to fry scream. If you have sort of that vocal undertone and then you compress on that, you get a bit of what you want. But play around with that. What you want to aim for is this gurgly sound. You want to aim for this gurgly sound. Just a very gurgly sound. Another way you can try to achieve this is by just trying to put your vocal fry into a note. So, now try to carry the feeling of up into a note. So, you'll notice as you get high enough, it becomes a lot thinner. That thinness is kind of what you're aiming for. So take a bit of your voice out of that when you get up to that. And try to focus strictly on the distortion. Now don't push the distortion. This is going to be really quiet, especially if you're a loud talker. It's going to be a really quiet sound compared to how you talk, because it's just the distortion. Work strictly with the distortion before trying to project it, because what you want to do is you want to be able to activate that distortion, because once you take the distortion to projection, it becomes a whole different story. And of course, that might not work for you. For me, a lot of the tutorials I saw online for fry and false chord screams didn't really work for me, so I had to figure out some methods myself once I finally achieved that, of different ways to find your fry scream. So if that didn't work for you, I encourage you to seek out other tutorials. That's just something that I see as somebody who had a different approach to how he used his voice. I saw that as a way that could be really helpful for people that maybe don't have the same way of using their voice. Like, I'm sure if you know how to false chord scream, or if you're learning how to false chord scream, you've seen the exaggerated sigh, or exasperated, or aggravated sigh, whatever. You've seen that tutorial 1,000 times over. And if that doesn't work for you, you're looking for something else. Well, one thing that I would suggest for that is, like, pretend you're Batman. I'm Batman. I'm Batman. I'm Batman. Because you have false fry activation. Or just pretend like you're driving a race car. Which is actually a really good way of activating your false folds. But then we've covered fry screams. I can make a more in-depth video about fry screams, but right now I need to continue with the viewer special. Now I want to talk about Kargira. I've had 1 or 2 people ask for a tutorial on Kargira, and I gave a somewhat tutorial in my warm-ups video that I did. Well, not my warm-ups video, but the full practice session video that I did. I gave somewhat a tutorial on Kargira with the full practice session video that I put out. And even my practice sessions, the way that I've approached those have changed a bit, especially when it comes to my warm-up, and how I listen to my body. So I might make an updated one of those. But for Kargira, let me just cover it again. The element that is present in Kargira is dual fold activation. You have your vocal fold and you have your false fold. Now, scientifically, and let me explain this, because if you're struggling with Kargira, it makes sense. The reason why Kargira throat singing is so difficult is because for it to work, false folds have to be going at exactly half the rate that your vocal folds are. It is a very difficult thing to achieve, and it took me a while to figure out how to do it. The best way that I can say how to do it is take your voice, add a false chord rasp on there, push that false chord rasp to a false chord scream, and then pull back on it slowly. Because that's kind of what worked for me. I took my scream and I pulled back on it. The other thing that I can say is Kargira is something that you should warm up for. For me, I used to do tube and throat singing and Kargira all the time, just without even being warmed up. you should warm up for it, especially because it's using your false folds too. So you should do a basic false fold warm up like that for a bit of time before doing Kagura. So you actually warm up into Kagura. This has been the viewer special. If there's anything that I missed where you've done something on my channel and you've asked me to explain something and I haven't, please let me know. I'll try my best to either, if I have a ton of responses, do another video, or if I don't have very many, then I'll just answer them in the comments. But if also there's anything else that you need help with your screams, let me know. I'll try to figure that out as quickly as possible for you and get a video out. If you would like free vocal lessons, my business email is in my YouTube channel description. I would be more than happy to work with something privately on you. Let me just give 2 official disclaimers. 1, I am not a professional vocal coach. I don't have a ton of experience with vocal coaching, so for lack of a better phrase, use me at your own risk. And 2, we're not really going to do much practicing in the first lesson because I'm going to want to get to know you vocal-wise. How much experience you've had, what things you've done vocal-wise, and what things you're looking to do. But if you are still interested, please let me know by emailing me and I'll try to set something up with you. Anyway, that's it for right now. May the Lord direct all thy paths, and see y'all in the next video.